I'd like, I'm going to stand up because I have a cold, so my voice is very.
Listen up.
Thank you. I've kind of lost my voice, so I won't be speaking very loudly. So I'm going to ask the audience to please keep your comments down so everybody can hear. We have a full house tonight. I'd like to welcome everybody. Our council meetings and our business meetings seem to be full, and that's good. Everybody needs to be part of what's happening here in Cosmopolis, and I appreciate all of you being here. Tonight, we're going to start out with the workshop, and that's for the law enforcement contract services, and that will be from 6 to 7. So they will do a presentation. We will have some discussion after their presentation, and that will be a 3-minute discussion. There's lots of people, so please, we've had people like, we're gonna give somebody else 3 minutes on advice of the attorney. We're not gonna do that this evening. There's a lot of people here. We wanna get through the meeting, so please try to stick through to your 3 minutes. Can you hear me back there okay? Okay, thank you. So tonight we have a guest. Chief, would you like to introduce our guest this evening? What we're gonna be talking about, last agenda, the Grays Harbor Sheriff Department came in and gave a proposal. There was discussion about, as you know, at the end of this month, we will not have police. We do have police right now. We have our chief. We have 3 officers. As a mayor, what I've heard from our citizens is you want to. As a mayor, that's what I want. So at that meeting, I asked for proposals from the other 2 cities. Hope was not interested in teaming up with Cosmopolis to kind of join up here. Aberdeen sent us a proposal, and I welcome them and thank you for coming tonight. And so they're going to talk about their proposal to join Cosmopolis here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thanks for having us. My name is Dale Green, and I am the Chief of the Aberdeen Police Department. This is my 28th year with Aberdeen, 2 as the Chief. This is our Deputy Chief, Andy Snodgrass. You probably know Andy. He started here at Cosmopolis in 2003, moved up to Aberdeen 2.5 years later, and now he's our Deputy Chief. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come in and
Would you like to come up, Chief? Please do.
Okay. Want to walk through the council members or anything?
Here we go. I'll go over here.
So as the mayor said, former city administrator Rains reached out to us at the end of February and asked us if we'd be interested in submitting some sort of proposal to provide emergency police services for the city of Cosmopolis. So he had said in his email to our city administrator that he could provide a police chief at 90 hours, a full-time police officer at 160 hours, and 10 hours of a record specialist. So that was what we were given. So I said, yeah, let's talk to our financial consultant. We don't have a finance director at this time. We have a financial consultant. So we met with her and we talked about the numbers to kind of come up with the proposal that I think should be in your packets, hopefully, that you've all received. Kind of how this looks like for us is the city of Aberdeen, we are very, very busy, as you all probably know. Last year, we had just under 28,000 billable calls to 911, and the city of Cosmopolis had just under 700. So it kind of gives you a difference in the scope of calls. So when we looked at what that would cost for the city of Cosmopolis, we simply took our operating budget of $7.5 million, divided it by how many billable calls we had. So we came up with a cost per call of about $283. So with the city of Cosmopolis covering about 250 hours a month and us covering the rest, that puts about 63% of the time on us. So we kind of were just thinking like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. would be Cosmopolis police officers. Then the city of Aberdeen would provide emergency services after 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. during the week and then on weekends as well. So when we look at the math of the 63% of the calls that we would handle in a year, it's probably like 434 calls or so. That pencils out to about $10,300 a month. So that was the proposal that we had initially given the city of Cosmopolis. A couple things, so that includes a patrol response to any call. And just to let you know, last year, Aberdeen police officers responded to 70 calls in the city of Cosmopolis. So those are calls that happened when either the Cosmopolis police officer might have been on call, they asked us for mutual aid to come respond, or it was a serious call that our officers came to assist on. And I want to make sure that you guys all understand, we're not here to take over the city of Cosmopolis Police Services. That's not our intent whatsoever. I've had a lot of people ask me that in the last couple of weeks, and I want to make sure that you were very clear with that. We have 2 officers in the police academy today. We have 2 vacancies, and we have 1 conditional officer. So we're 5 officers down out of 38. So we don't have the capabilities right now to offer full-time services to the city of Cosmopolis. So that's why we came up with this emergency services contract proposal. When we look at this $10,300 a month, what that covers any Aberdeen police officer at those times responding to any kind of crime progress, crime against a person or anything like that, will be here. Now, I want to make sure you understand this too. We're not in competition with the sheriff's office. That's not our intent when we were asked to do this. I know the sheriff was here a couple weeks ago, did his presentation, and we got asked after that to see if we wanted to do a proposal. So that's not what we're trying to say here. We think our offer is a little different. We're the neighboring city, so we're going to be here quick, and we're going to come anyway. So regardless of what proposal the mayor and council decide on, we're still going to cover your calls anyway. Anytime somebody in this city calls 911 for a police emergency, we're going to come because it's the right thing to do. It's what we do. A couple things that are included in our proposal too is anytime we have any kind of a call that might require a follow-up, we would give that to the Causey police officer during the day for follow-up. So like if somebody called us, say 9 o'clock at night, mail theft, with no suspect or something like that, an Aberdeen police officer reach out to that person, maybe by phone, maybe in person. It's going to kind of depend on our call load. And then we'd have the Cosmopolis police officer do follow-up the next day. That also includes us responding if we have some sort of a crisis situation. Cosmopolis used to have a member of our SWAT team, or special response team now is what we call it. So that's kind of included too. And then all the other services that we provide as well too. So like we need to enter stolen vehicles, missing persons, runaways, calls like that. That's all kind of included in that. We did do the math, and it works out to about $111 an hour if we have some sort of felony investigation to do. I think I could confidently say statistically that's probably not something that's going to happen very often. Of the 434 calls that were billable last year to the city of Cosmopolis, just a small handful would require some sort of follow by one of our detectives. That's what we do when we have a felony. A police officer takes report, reports to our detective the next day to follow up. So I think we're really looking at a very small amount of calls that would require that. I think last month there was like 46 billable calls in the city of Cosmopolis, and of those 46, 5 would have probably required some sort of emergent response from us, like a domestic violence assault, suspicious person prowling through somebody's yard, vehicle prowling progress, something like that. Really, that's kind of all I have for what we have. I'm certainly here to take questions for the council member if you have any specifics. Kind of our thoughts, what we would let everybody know what we're looking to do, what we can do. And then if this is something that the city's interested in, then we just, contract and figure out how the logistics of that work. But I think it's important that you do try to keep your police department, whatever that might look like. I think it's very important to have a local community here. This isn't Aberdeen, we know that. I can't reiterate enough that we're not looking to come in and take over your operations. We're just trying to offer some help.
And Chief, would you like to speak also?
Sure. I have a couple things I would want to point out. Grayson County option
Could you
one was
please stand up,
provided.
Chief? Could you please stand up? Thank you.
Grayson County's options, just to kind of review, was $183,968 a year. That did not include all the fine print items, which would have been your jail services, contract, 911 services, Children's Advocacy Center, all those extras. What those extras ended up being, I have no idea because I don't have access to that from the clerk any longer. Option two, and by the way, option one is 0 patrols, response to 911 calls only. Option two is the same thing with 2 deputies being paid for $367,937 a year. Again, none of the extra fine print items are covered. And both of those scenarios is a resident deputy response. So from Aberdeen all the way to Grays Harbor, Pacific County line on Highway 105. Those resident deputies live down in the Westport area. So if they're on duty, they respond from wherever they are within that geographical boundary. And if they're on call, then they get woke up and they respond from where they live in that geographical boundary. The option from Aberdeen is $411,600. That includes your Cosmopolis officers and having access to a clerk a few hours a week to continue to provide services like the pistol permits, records, requests, all those other items. And it includes, that dollar amount also includes all the fine print items. That it's your guys' choice how you proceed, council, but just the big picture, those are your dollars. So what they get of that portion was that $10,300, but what they're proposing involves Cosmopolis police officers, and that big ticket dollar amount total is that dollar amount.
And I'd like to add, we actually have, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 Aberdeen police officers that live here in our community. And I don't know how many of you remember Gabe Tanoski. He's now working for the Aberdeen Police. So it's kind of a plus. We have people, officers that know our community and know our citizens. And I want to reiterate, lots of social media about Aberdeen annexation, we're gonna, Cosmopolis, we're not, that is not happening. That can't happen, and there's no intent. So I just want to assure you, that is not on the table. That is not happening.
The other item I wanted to just kind of mention was the question, the biggest question I had was, of the 3 options, can we afford even any of them? What's the dollar amounts? On Thursday, I think it was Thursday, maybe it was Wednesday. Anyway, last week, the numbers I was provided using the APD contract model, blue sheet, I don't know what number page it is in your contract, but per the numbers that were provided to me, we would have enough money for this option with $51,284 left at the end of the year. So it's not in the net negative, there was some money left. The other aspect of it, I just wanted to mention briefly, was also no patrol option 1, no patrol option 2, response only, over 250 hours of patrol with the third option of proactive patrol within the community, not just reactive to calls for service. And that's kind of when he mentioned billable calls. What he's referring to is that you call 911 and you say, I have an emergency now, respond, and that's those billable calls. The other aspect of it is the proactive contacts, the field interview of a person that looks suspicious. It's the traffic stops for speeding motorists. It's all those things. I probably could humorously say how many have left the garage door open and somebody's come along and closed it. Those are not billable calls. Those are just services that we provide. So that was that component when he was referring to that. And it is important, at least in my opinion, that to keep in mind, the mayor mentioned people that live in our community that are Aberdeen officers, but current working officers in Aberdeen that worked here in our community, that know our community, know our people, and I think that's also important to consider when you choose that. Deputy Chief Snodgrass, Officer Tarnowski, Officer Jackie Mitchell, Officer Joshua Mullins, just to name a few, and then others that live and you are neighbors with in your community, so they're invested in this community. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. I do have a quick question for clarification. So it states in this proposal that the expected monthly coverage amount is $10,000 and $10,300.
Yes, sir.
So is the proposal that we would pay the agreed rate of $10,300 per month and then readjust if the coverage needs differ in the next year? Or is this just an estimate and we would be billed hourly at the hourly?
No, it won't be hourly. Kind of our thought is, we'll give this a go. We'll sit down with Mr. Johnson and our city attorney can work out the actual language of the contract, but kind of in my mind, I'm thinking we could do like quarterly at a time and then look and see and reevaluate it and see if it's working for both parties. I think that's kind of how we operate to see, we want to make sure, we're looking at the statistics and the call load, and, we would still be responsible and come to your council meetings as well with the chief too, so you guys knew what was going on, and we want to be very transparent in what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for you as well, sir.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's similar to what Mr. Nguyen just asked. The history of exceptional service cost increases in Aberdeen is kind of known. The city of Aberdeen has a documented history of raising service costs often resulting in limited options for cities like Cosmopolis to negotiate or seek alternative providers. This trend is evident in significant and continuous increases in costs for emergency medical services, or EMS, provided by the city of Aberdeen. Such unsustainable costs escalated can place undue financial strain on our city and limit our ability to allocate resources effectively. I was just kind of curious, I mean, you mentioned a quarterly. I mean, is there any way we could put this into a yearly so we aren't having a fluctuating increase in cost?
Yeah, I mean, that's really up for the city attorneys to get down and get into the details of that kind of stuff. I think, you know, my responsibilities with the city of Aberdeen, so my concern is making sure that the city of Aberdeen has the appropriate amount of level of police services. You know, next month, if we have 3 people to go to another agency and all of a sudden we're down to minimum staffing, that might be a problem for us. I don't see that happening, but those are concerns that I have as well too.
Gotcha.
You know, we're, as police departments, we don't bill for services like it's different than EMS and sewer and utility and all that other kind of stuff, so we don't really have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, I mean, the terms would certainly be negotiable, and ultimately both councils have to approve that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just say too, like the chief said, I started here, so, I take no offense, we take no offense. If you choose to not go with us, I mean, that is completely fine. It pains me to be here. I know what you guys have as Causey PD. I worked here for 2.5 years. There's a lot of differences between Causey PD and APD, right? Like, we're running and moving all the time and going call to call to call. And so I am very well, probably more well aware of the differences than anybody else in this room, having worked for both places. And the chief and I were just, in the city of Aberdeen, we're just trying to help out. And so, if you guys decide to not go with us, we're just, like the chief said, we're just here to help. So hopefully it's not a forever thing, and hopefully you guys get back on your feet and everything, but we're just here to help, so.
Thank you.
I'd like to add one thing, if I may. Aberdeen's proposal is the only one that allows our police department to continue going. That's it.
And I'd like to add, I think that's a very important point. Again, I'll stand up for my voice. It's a very important point. In really looking at this, and when I called this up at the state level, they see this in a lot of small communities. They're struggling financially, and the first thing they look at is the police department. And for citizens, what's important to you? Your fire, your police. As a citizen, that's key to myself. And what they said, the sheriff department is great, but one of the things you want to look at when it comes time, and it will come time where we will look at rebuilding our police department and working with a local police department, we will have that opportunity to do so. We're not giving everything up. And the county, when we sign a contract, they can raise that whenever they want. These are our neighbors. These are people that live in our community. They're here and they want to help us, and they will come to the table.
I just want to raise a quick point for folks in the audience who might not be very familiar with how these council meetings operate. So this part of the meeting is a workshop. Once the actual council meeting comes to order at 7 p.m., then we'll start conducting city business. So you'll hear additional discussion later and a potential motion to adopt one of the proposals. I know it's a little while to wait. And a little more suspenseful than any of us would care for, but I just wanted you to know to expect that.
And if we don't have any more council questions or comment, I'd like to open the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
The 10,300 a month, that was the same figure that Julie proposed to us to keep one of our officers a couple meetings ago based off of the assistant chief's wages per month. Am I correct?
I don't understand your question, I'm sorry.
The 10,300 a month for Aberdeen, I believe was the same number as what it cost the city of Cosmopolis in November, December for Ryan's wages and benefits and such.
Oh, as far, yeah. That's not how much he made a month, if that's.
No,
what you're
no,
asking.
I'm saying, to employ our own officer.
So
So-
employing myself at halftime and one full-time employee is calculated into this budget sheet that you received, and it's under the total package. If you deduct the 10,300 of their expense, the remainder would be the expense for me at halftime, full-time employee, patrol officer, and a part-time, I believe approximately 10 hours police clerk.
Chief, I think, and Jim,
Did I
feel
still
free
not
to,
understand the question? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
step in if I'm misunderstanding, but if not, then I may have a totally different question. I think what Jim is asking is comparing the option of bringing on yet another full-time officer. What are your thoughts on how
Oh, to
that
have
goes against the
three
average?
COSI officers, is that what you're asking?
Comparing that to the average. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
I'm not
asking?
seeing the value in this when the numbers we were given a couple meetings ago, it was the exact same cost estimated per month
Well,
to have one of our own.
we don't have those officers anymore. That ship
How
has
many
sailed.
officers do we currently have?
For the rest, another week and a half, there's a total of 3 of us, one of which is on paternity leave. You're down to myself and one other officer. And all of the officers have applied for other jobs and all have received conditional offers of employment. I'm the only one that hasn't sought other employment, because when I'm done, I'm done. So at the end of tonight, I'll know if I'm completely done and retired, or if I'm working in a half-time capacity. I'm all you have left. Well, if we accept this contract, we will be offering one officer based upon seniority of when they were date of hire, that come back from being laid off.
Chief, I think what we're wondering is your impression of, if we were to hire another officer. I know we maybe can't get back the officers that have already resigned or been laid off, but what is your thought on creating another position?
So being a 3-officer department to provide 24/7 service, and as opposed to 1.5 officers providing the extra amount of patrols and then Aberdeen covering the rest. Is that what I'm understanding that you're asking me?
Jim, is that what you're asking?
Sure, let's go with that.
That's what I
Okay, 3 officers doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because the scenario that we're in right now is 3 officers. Life happens. People get sick, people go on vacation, people go on training. 3 officers really means that I'm down to 2. And 2 officers means I've been on duty since 6 PM on Sunday night and I'm here till Friday morning. That's not sustainable. I can't do that for much longer.
Thank you.
That's why I'm okay with being laid off, being done tonight, or being reduced to 90 hours. It's not a way to live.
So I want to thank the chief. He has really sacrificed for this community. We all should be thanking him. He's reduced his hours to make this work. He's sacrificed time, training for our officers. I spoke to every one of our officers that we have remaining and had a really heart-to-heart talk with them. I have a great respect for police officers. And all of them wanted to stay, but they know the writing is on the wall. When we have to pay benefits and we don't have enough to cover the time, and we have officers working, that are working over and over like the chief is doing, they are offering officers $20,000 bonus signing. That's what those 2 officers are getting. Brand new cars, their own uniform, new uniforms, equipment, taser. We can't do that. That's the reality. We don't have the money. We can't do it. And when you talk about hiring officers, we have to pay benefits. We've been paying a lot of benefits for this city, for staff, for quite a while. I appreciate Aberdeen coming over and your proposal, and the council will have opportunity to make a decision on that later. Are there any more questions? None? So it's time, I know everybody's here. We have a lot to talk about tonight, but just at this time, The discussion is open for the officers this evening, because we have to make a decision this evening. You know, are we gonna have police coverage, and what did that look like by the end of this month? Okay? Even if you don't have a question and you wanna thank our officer, you can do that too.
Ashley Archangel, do we have a contingency plan if you're choosing to, if we're at a point of retirement for a chief? What is the other proposal if we no longer have a department? Because every proposal we have has sheriff, which takes over a department. We have one that has staying on part half-time. What if we have a retirement happen this evening? Do we have a plan for that? Is there a proposal anywhere, anyone's minds? Is it anywhere?
I'm not quitting tonight, if that's what you thought I meant. I'm not quitting. But tonight, based on the decisions made, if the county officers are done, that means I am laid off. That is the option. And if the Aberdeen option is made, I'm reduced to 90 hours a month. That's what I was trying to clearly state.
Thank you for clarifying. If we're at laid off point, what does that mean?
So, at this point, we don't have another contingency. It was at the last meeting, if you were there, it was a motion to have a action item that we were gonna act on that night, and it kind of was like, no, it was a discussion. And then we reached out to Holcomb and we reached out to Aberdeen. Aberdeen made a proposal, and this is where we're at. Trying to get officers across the state is hard. Police departments are crying out for them, and they can offer a lot more than we can. And so this is what we have. We have dedicated officers, the chief and one other officer that is willing to stay, and a police clerk, and Aberdeen is a support, and willing to come back to the table and, you know, look at it, where do we go? Which I think we have to come back to the table, no matter what we're doing in this city, and look at, review what we're doing. So, did that answer that? Probably not, probably.
I feel like, I see what you're saying differently, but I feel like all of the proposals on the table still are not a resolution for any sort of long-term play. I feel like even with a $10,000 payment or quarterly payment that we're going to do, it's still gonna put us, if we have some surplus at the end of the month, or at the end of the year, is that enough to keep us afloat and not be bankrupt? Is it enough? Is it enough coverage to keep everybody here safe? Is that gonna be enough? If they have a shortage in their staff, what is our backup? I don't feel like we have a backup plan for any emergent situations.
Mayor?
Yes,
Your contingency plan is that you won't go without police coverage, whether it be the sheriffs, whether it be Aberdeen. They will respond to 911 calls. What you are afforded with our own police department is having that daily coverage with men that know what's going on in the town of Cosmopolis. We will review the budget as often as we can to try to either reduce the costs of Aberdeen and bring on another officer if we can as this time goes on. We just ended up this year with just, you all know, such a disaster that this is where we're at. What we came to is an emergency that we've got to take care of these coverages. So these plans have been put in as a council. We'll discuss them in the next hour, and before the night is over, we will have a vote on which one of these that we are going to go with. And for the foreseeable future, that is what we'll have to do and pay out. That's what we had to do here not too many months ago with city, with our fire, which we all went through that. Now we're back into it again now with this. I am a true believer that if we lose what small coverage we have with these men now, it'll be hard for us to get it back. If something was to happen 6-8 months from now that put us back in the black instead of in the red. Again, I'm an old employee from across the street, but I'm not banking on that. I can't, not in this position. So this is what we're looking at doing right now.
Michelle Focus,
please stand up.
I'm wondering that $51,000 figure, I assume that that does not take into account any restructuring of city staffing and costs.
We will be looking at restructuring quite a bit.
But, so my question is that 51,000 that we were shown is as if we still had the same city staff at the same pay,
Yes,
which we no longer do.
That is based on a projection that assumes that with the operating costs that we had as of, 2 weeks ago roughly, using one of these plans, that would be our end of year balance. I believe at that time, we were still looking at a slight deficit. Now, slight deficit meaning that if we continued that $50,000, $51,000 end of year balance would be smaller the second year. It doesn't mean that we would be, going in the red, so to speak. It just means that we would still have to find other savings to reach a balanced budget. And certainly have to, find some savings to more conservatively try to start building up our reserves again. Those projections, as of now, I mean, if we were operating with the exact same staff, then, that would be accurate. But as most of us know, the situation's changed a little bit, so a lot of that's going to depend on how we do or don't restructure the staffing positions and probably some other expenses as well.
Thank you.
Ken Cummings, I realize everything that's been said here tonight sounds like a short-term plan to take care of the police department. The 2 meetings that I've been part of, I've not heard one iota of what the long-term plan is. Somebody has to be discussing a long-term plan. The citizens of Cosy, if you go and ask them, they want a police department that is the city of Cosmopolis. With that being said, has anybody taken a look at throwing out an M&O levy to alleviate this and see if that can be done? And if it can be done, it can be done this year. And it can go on the ballot this year. And then that alleviates everybody that's up here that has anything to do with the police department. It puts it all back in the citizens. I realize it's a lot of work to do that, but it is doable. That's all I have to say.
Madam Mayor, go ahead, Ken.
So-
You haven't talked for a while, Mark. Okay. As a matter of fact, Ken, an M&O levy was brought up and has been brought up a couple different times, and we are intending to pursue that. And we are intending to put it on the November ballot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would have presented a motion tonight, but because of what we have going on, before we have a vote, we don't know if we're gonna have a police department or not. But if we do, then I'm proposing that we put a subcommittee together and we have an answer with that by the end of June so that it can be put on the ballot on November. So that we switch that over. The people want service, they're gonna know what they're gonna be paying for.
Absolutely.
Year by year. So, yes, that, Ken, is on the agenda.
Thank you.
thank you, good question. Any other question? Please state your name.
Kelly Daniel, 316 First Street, I got my address. So I'm just trying to follow the math here really quick. So we asked the county to provide police services as if we didn't have a police department. And I believe they came back at $180,000 a year. My question, to make sure my math is right, is that if we accept Aberdeen City proposal, plus the Cosmopolis staff stays on part-time, that comes up to around $434,000. To break it into pieces, that means Cosmopolis would be around $311,000 for our police department, and they would cover what's left of 268 calls, approximately. Meaning that the city of Aberdeen, for $123,000 a year, would take almost double the calls for a third of the price. So I just share that, is that I think that the county's proposal is an apple and Aberdeen's proposal is kind of an orange, and we're not really comparing them correctly. And so if my math is correct, a third of the cost is for Aberdeen, over 300,000 would be for Coggy. And the part that I'm confused by, and I do want some clarification, is you said you're gonna respond no matter what. And the county has said they're gonna respond no matter what. So I'm wondering, do we not do anything with any agency, and we try and keep our own police department, and perhaps, if the budget allows, add someone back in, knowing that maybe our little town has coverage between 7 and 7, but then the county or the city would respond anyways at no cost to us because they're required to. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that these two proposals are not the same, and perhaps we ask the county to come back and give us a proposal that says, what would your proposal be if we kept a portion of our law enforcement, our COSI? Because what we asked them to do was provide us with 100% service and no partnership with a COSI officer. So I don't think that we have all the information that we need. In a perfect world, we have our own police department. We have COSI cops here. I mean, that's what we all want, right? I just want to make sure that the math is correct and that we're not spending $434,000, nearly $500,000, by contracting with the city of Aberdeen when we would only pay $180,000 for the county's proposal. You know, and then that would allow us to, I mean, the saddest part of this evening is that Keith is going down to 90 hours. It's just not right. It's not right for him to go down to 90 hours. He should be working full-time plus. But, you know, we would spend $180,000 and save significant amount of money. We would be able to sell all of our police cars and our assets, and then perhaps we could partner with the county to lease some of our office space and make that a revenue stream and bring revenue into the city by leasing back some of our assets to the county. I'm just making suggestions, but I just don't think that the two proposals are apples and apples, you know, especially because it's proven just by the math that Aberdeen is gonna take the bulk of the calls, 432 for 123,000, and city is gonna take approximately 268 calls for 3 times as much. So I just think we need to do some math and have some discussions and perhaps go back to the county and ask for a second proposal. These Aberdeen cops are our friends and we love them all, and so are the county folks. I just think, you know, how can we partner perhaps with the county, have less money, and then also maybe lease back some of our assets, sell some of our assets, and create revenue streams by partnering with the correct things. So that's just my comment.
So, you know, this is a really tough decision, and we don't have a lot of time, to be quite honest with you.
Point of order. We ask the audience to please, the mayor has asked that everyone please listen.
It's kind of hard to hear, we didn't know she was talking, sorry.
This woman right here, she's 50 years, she was the same.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing my best. So, you know, this has been really looking at numbers, crunching numbers. When I reached out to the state, one of the things that they said, as I said earlier, that they're seeing this happen in small communities like ours. And they said, you know, we can't tell you what to do, but we'll give you some examples. They said, what we have seen when small communities like ours go with the county, and the county is they're fine officers. When I was an investigator, I worked closely with them when I had to be out in the field and I needed assistance, you know, and with these officers. But what they said to me was, when small communities, the feedback that they got, gave up their police, and they brought the county in, they kind of gave up everything. And when you get a bill, your utility bill, you're gonna see that. And they can raise that anytime they want. Would it be great if we had time to go back and forth through negotiations? The reality is we don't. We can, with Aberdeen, we can come to the table in another month, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Another 2 months. But we are gonna have to make some decisions. If we sell our police cars, if we sell our equipment, trust me, I've done my research on this. The cost of getting that back, we won't be able to. We hope to be in the black at the end of this year, but not to that kind of extent. Not to having a $25,000 signing bonus when there's not a lot of police officers out there. And so, yeah, this is important. It's very important. I think what you have is, with Aberdeen, you're gonna have people that know you. You're gonna have police officers that live in this community. We can have police service in place at the end of this month, and we can come back to the table in a month or two and make a decision if it's not working.
I would like to underscore that point, and I have heard from members of the community who've expressed some similar concerns about outsourcing our services to the county. You know, the nice thing about having local police is they not only know the infrastructure of the community, where things are located, but they know the people. And when they see somebody who's, you know, walking home and has maybe had a really rough day at work and is looking not their finest, they know that that person is a community member. And they're not gonna harass that person. When somebody with special needs is maybe having a sort of a personal crisis, they know who that person is, and they know how to handle that in a professional manner. And a concern that some of you have expressed and that I share is that bringing in folks who don't know our community, you know, they don't know you from anyone else, right? So I think that's an important thing to consider as we compare the level of service that we're looking at with these proposals.
Question, Darren King, just a comment. There's a lot of ways this can go, and I've been involved in a lot of the law enforcement aspects and the city stuff, trying to figure out, try to help the best way through this. And I'm available. I want what's best for the city. As a citizen, if there is a call to the city, I want services for anybody, not just me, that are appropriate. And if necessary, we have the appropriate follow-up to that call. Because if it's, say, example, a vehicle prowl or burglaries or something like that, we can't just have someone responding to the calls. We have to somebody trying to proactively address that problem so it goes away, because if it doesn't, it'll make it worse. And if you take anything from what I have to say from this meeting, it would be that my advice would be to keep Keith on board as long as you possibly can for the betterment of the city, because no matter how we move on, all that institutional knowledge he has from being an officer here for this city for so long, we're gonna regret if he's gone, and we gotta go and make other plans for the future, and he's gone. But he will do the city right in my mind. Thank you.
Katie Judd. As a taxpayer, I want the sheriff's department off the table. If we're gonna use someone, I wanna use Aberdeen, but I want our own police department to also stay.
Any other comments?
Back in the back to you, Mr. Davis.
Mr. David?
Steve Davis, 825 We have to look at what this puts on the whole budget, not just on the police department side. I probably call Public Works more often in my career here than I have the police department. So Public Works is equally, even more so in some cases, important. So when you guys make the decision around how you're gonna spend the limited amount of money we have, you have to really determine how that's allocated to the other departments. Right now, thankfully, we have 2.5. I'm assuming Joe Ortiz is still around. We have a few people in Public Works. We do not have enough to sustain any kind of service there in the next few weeks. So as urgently as we need police department coverage, we also need Public Works coverage. Because when you flush your toilet, when you go to take a shower, that's gonna matter. And it affects each and every one of us every single day. So, although I've also been a proponent for keeping our Cosmopolis Police Department, we really have to see how this affects our entire budget, not just the police structure, to get us through this dip. Thank you.
So there'll probably be a lot of questions about budget and other questions in the second hour. And one of the things is, we'll be talking about Public Works. And there is funding for that. And we're looking at the police department. Thank you, Mr. Davis. And so we'll talk more about that in the next hour. Other questions?
I just have one more comment, until I get past 316. Perhaps we can look at a way to keep Keith at full-time and another officer on full-time, and then just have county and Aberdeen respond to any type of emergency services, because they're gonna respond anyways at no charge to the city. So maybe that's an option to consider, so that we don't have to lose our chief, the whole time. So, perhaps that's an option, and then we don't have to contract to spend another $123,000 with the city or more with the county.
Madam Mayor, if I could suggest that while we have him here, that you can maybe comment or reflect on that.
Absolutely. Could you?
Sure thing, of course, yeah, that's why we're here, we're gonna be here all night, hopefully it doesn't last too long, but we're excited at the Aberdeen Council meeting. So, we're under no legal obligation to come to calls in Cosmopolis, we do because it's the right thing to do. We wanna make sure that the citizens in this community are taken care of, it doesn't matter if it's in Cosmopolis or Holcomb needs help, or we're in the county, we just send cops, that's what we do. When we talk about the level of service that we're gonna provide, we're saying that we're gonna respond to, calls in progress, crimes against persons and things like that. The difference, as she had mentioned, apples and oranges, is, we don't, with our proposal, that doesn't mean at 2 in the morning we're driving down your street looking for a garage door that's not open, those kinds of things. So, that's kind of the difference in what we're talking about versus the sheriff's office, because as she said, that it's definitely apples and oranges. But, if you had questions, you could certainly ask us now, and this is the time to do that. But I want to make sure that we're clear on what an Aberdeen response is going to look like versus, what Cosmopolis might be able to provide.
And Chief, it's apparent Mrs. Daniel is very concerned about your well-being. Would you like to speak to how you came up with this and your thoughts on that?
That's a complex answer, but just in short, I have been through this before. I know there's a lot of people that say that they've been through this before, but there's only a few of us in this room that have been through this before. I know Jamin and Tom and I have been. I don't know that there's anybody else that we're actually looking at as far as the one working and living here, staying in a bed in the office to do that. I am very committed to this community, but I am not living here again inside of my office, sleeping in a bed in a side room. So I'm not willing to go through that again for my family, my marriage, or anything else. So maybe I just got a little too personal, but I'm telling you, I'm not doing that again. I'm in a different place in my life. So we have done that. And if Gabe Turnowski was here, he would say the same thing because he lived that with me. So I'm at peace with whatever decision you guys make tonight. And I'm not asking for anybody to make this decision based upon trying to keep me here. If you decide that the best option for the city is the county option, I'm not gonna be stomping out here mad. And if you choose to take the Aberdeen option, same scenario. I will gladly work here and serve you until I'm told to turn off the light and lock the door, and that's what I'll do. My opinion is you're gonna get the best bang for your buck with Aberdeen, but it is gonna cost you more because you're gonna be paying for us. Aberdeen's option is less expensive. And when we say that the other agencies are still gonna come, that's gonna get worn out real quick on coming with no contract. Mutual aid only occurs when there's mutual aid occurring. And that's the agreement that we're operating under with the sheriff's office in Aberdeen. That's mutual aid. If I'm not sending somebody mutually to do that, there is no mutual aid. And sooner or later, you start getting a bill for those services. And that's something that I'm sure the city attorney could get more confident answers on, but that's something that you should have negotiated in advance, otherwise you're gonna get the bill. And maybe I'm far wrong on that, and Attorney Johnson can correct me if I am, but you gotta have something in place. There is a law that says the county has to respond. It doesn't say they can't charge you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions at this time or comments?
I have a comment. Kelly Callahan, 116 H Street. And I want to thank our police chief and our city police officers for their willingness to adjust with this. My thoughts, my takeaway from all of this is personally, I do like the idea of keeping our police officers if we can. And I think our response from the Aberdeen Police Department is going to be much quicker response than the Sheriff's Department, county. They got a big area. We got to think about that. So this proposal with Aberdeen in conjunction with what we currently have, and I know our police chief said, if we get rid of our officers, we're gonna have a darn terrible time trying to get somebody back. Once bitten, twice shy. So personally, I like this combination and the fact that the city of Aberdeen, the police chief, is willing to adjust with the council, with what our needs are accordingly. And hopefully we can stay within our budget as best we can. And I know that we've also got all of these different budget, you've got your general fund and you've got your works and all this. Each pool of money cannot be easily moved, or I don't know that much about it, but you can't just take from one and just stick it over here. There's complications to all of that. So that's just my 2 cents. And I thank all of you for coming and all of your hard work on all of your point to try and help our little town as best we can. We're all in this together, and I truly appreciate everybody in this community. And thank you, sir. Thank the city, the Aberdeen Police Department, and our council and our mayor.
Thank you.
I sent all of the, and I gave it to Keith also, concerning the reasons of.
It's okay, Kathy.
Arnold Police Department. Because of familiarity, and it's not just for crimes that they do, it's for mental health. When somebody comes to the house and they know your family member, you don't even know the difference it makes. And I appreciate all of you responding to me. I don't know why you didn't. I'm disappointed you didn't, Jimmy. I'm disappointed.
It's been a little busy.
But I appreciate you responding to me and taking exception to my email. And I want to thank you for what he's done over the years.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have about 6 minutes. We will go ahead and pause, and if you need to take a break, stand up, please do. And then we'll go into the next part of the meeting. Okay. if you can't hear me, what would really be helpful, in some of our past meetings, we've had a lot of side conversations. I'm gonna ask you to please not do that this evening, to please be polite and respectful of myself, of the council, of the people sitting next to you this evening. So as I call the meeting to order, I need a motion to, oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please. We'll start with. Speak up, please. Oh, and I'd like to introduce, this is Bill Cedar, he's our building inspector and code enforcement today.
Tom Disler, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Kim Skinner, position 1.
Jeremy White, position 2.
Justin Spargo, position 3.
Mark Collette, position 4.
Jim Hanson, position 5.
And then Casey Grove is our new, clerical clerk, and so she is taking minutes this evening. And then myself, Mayor Springer. So a motion to approve the claims voucher.
We need to approve
Yeah.
approve the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
Step by step.
I'd like to make an amend to, motion to amend the agenda and have a discussion about utility billing and payroll. If I could get a second, by chance?
I'll second that motion. Where would you like to include that? New business.
New business?
Item B.
Vote on the motion.
I got a motion and second, so we just need to vote on it.
Okay,
Okay.
so is there a motion to vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Also, would I do that at this time then? I also have a motion tonight.
Linda, you can't make motions.
Thank you. I apologize. I am doing good to just be up here this evening, so I apologize. Please be patient. Give me a little grace this evening. So, can I ask someone,
A motion on what?
help me out this evening?
Okay, what she wants to do is she wants to add to the agenda, under new business, it'd be item D, a proposal to hire a CPA for the city, and she's also asking to remove item 9A, which is the ordinance on the international building codes.
I will motion to add an item for the discussion of the hire of a CPA, and to move item A to a discussion only for the evening.
I second that.
All those in favor, any discussion?
So we are discussing, since Mr. Sidor was here, or Sidor, Sidor, my apologies. Since you are here and present, I would definitely like to see what it was about, so we're just discussing that. All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, moving on to committee reports.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Oh, consent agenda. Okay,
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
any discussion? All opposed?
Need a second?
Is that a second?
We have a second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we move on. So next, we have the committee reports.
Claims and vouchers? What about claims and vouchers? What was that consent agenda?
That's what we can.
Okay, copy that.
agenda.
Pardon?
Claims vouchers under consent agenda.
Oh,
That's,
I thought that's what we just did.
I thought we just did that.
We approved the consent agenda.
and that's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what that is. So next, we have committee reports. Chief, would you?
Sure, just kind of rehash of the workshop. council has, is this where you want me right now, is to discuss this, or is public safety committee?
Sorry, so this should be,
So I think Mr. Skinner would be the one doing that, not me though, right?
Thank you,
Or
Mr. Skinner.
We had our, we held, last night, or Monday night, whichever one it was, I'm lost too. We had our public safety meeting, we sat down with the two chiefs, went over some of this proposal, some of the concerns that the police chief has, or the fire chief has, as far as numbers. He is now, get back to my regular notes here, they have 5 more applicants that we approved to be new volunteer firemen. One of the 4 is a Causey?
yes.
Yes, one of the 4 is a Causey resident, and, let's see if I got some more meeting minutes about this. Mr. Collette, you can add in there anytime. We are going to, again, in our public safety, I did mention it earlier in the first meeting, once we decide today whether or not we keep police chief and officers on, then we will be putting on the floor next month a motion to put a subcommittee together to explore and put a proposal together for a M&O, maintenance and operation budget, a levy for our police department, which will get the police department out of the general fund and will have its fund of its own. You will, again, I know the scary word, you will get a tax, but it will be up to you as to what kind of service you want covered. That's where this will come now. Instead of it coming out of that general fund and us dealing with it, the police department itself will deal with the city as far as its funding. And they will have to come to you, the citizens, whether I think it's 1 or 2 year, every year, they will have to come to you with a budget that you will then vote on and approve whether or not they will be able to operate at that or send it back and adjust their budget again. So those was one of the major things that had came up. We had discussed it at our financial subcommittee meeting, that had been brought up 10 years ago, and like lots of other things that I have found since that came, they were great ideas and they were not pursued. And it does take process. It won't happen if we even get it on the ballot in November and passes. It won't happen until January of 2025, before the funding would start to come from that levy instead of from the general fund. So it has to be done sometime, and we want to get it started now so that it can be ready for the citizens to see come June, just what the cost, what the ramifications are of it, and what it can do for our police service. So that is, I'm going to pass it to Mark if he has any other.
I would like to just add one thing, Kim. I think you did a good job with that presentation. It wouldn't actually take effect until July of 2025, not January. July. So, and other than that, that's all I have to add to it.
Thank you. Parks Committee?
No meeting, no report.
Oh, we do got something. I received a positive email this morning. The nonprofit Friends of Highland Park received a $20,000 grant from Grays Harbor Community Foundation for the revitalization project of Olympic Terrace Park. That park is located on 101 Alder Drive. Lakeside Industries will be doing work in that park in April or May. The scope of their work will be to extend the court for multi-use. Plans for the new sports court will be a new basketball hoop, striping for the basketball and pickleball. Any remaining funds will be utilized for new swings, climbing equipment. The benches in the park will be repaired and painted as quickly as the weather permits. The material and labor are all donated and will be no cost to the city. Only time utilized by the city to date and going forward is to unlock the gate. Citizens may think this is a misplaced priority in light of the revenue crisis with the general fund. This project on Olympic Terrace is 100% community-driven, funded, and maintained at no cost to the city, as like I stated, besides unlocking the gate for access at times. That's all that we have for the parks currently.
Just a question. So are we allowed to report out, aside from minutes from an actual parks meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, well, then I will just. No, thank you. Yeah, I'll just mention that, I have been through the parks and kind of assessing the condition in light of the lack of maintenance that we've been able to attend to them. So we are aware of quite a few maintenance needs in the parks. Generally we have correcting the budget as our priority right now. So if you have been asked to participate in the Parks Committee and wondering when we will meet just as soon as we have a budget that allows us to work in our parks again.
Mr. Antich, any report this evening?
No meeting, no report.
No meeting, no report, okay. So, Tom, would you like to stand up? So Tom is here this evening to do a report on public works.
Public Works, there's two of us. I'm doing the day-by-day operations that I can, and that's about where we're at. I mean, something comes up, the two of us will respond, and all I can do is keep going forward the best I can. That's it.
Thank you, we appreciate that. So, would we like Bill to speak at this time?
No, it's gonna be.
So, Chief, would you like to give a report?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I know we talked a couple months ago about our assistance to firefighters grant for FEMA. Thanks to Michelle, the mayor, and Sandy, we were able to actually get that submitted on time. We won't hear back for that until September. We requested a new bunker here for our entire firefight, or all of our firefighters. With with knowing that it's gonna be at least a year out before we see that gear if we are awarded, just with supply chain issues that we're still seeing there. I think Council Member Skinner mentioned the addition of 5 new members, bringing up our current rosters and members for the fire department. I'll leave it at that, pending any questions.
In addition to what we discussed later, I have no further report.
Okay, thank you. Bill Cedar, our building inspector, and I'm sorry, I'm so foggy tonight. Code enforcement officer is there anything that you wanted to add tonight?
The only thing I have is, as far as, I've got 2 plans that I've been reviewing. One is the seismic retrofit to the Cosmopolis Grade School, which is a $7 million project, which will probably bring in the neighborhood of $50,000 or more in permit fees. And then I'm currently looking at, that one I completed last week. I'm currently looking at one for Pepe Machinery, the remodeling down there. That's a $2 million project, and that'll probably bring in at least $20,000 or more in permit fees. So there will be some money coming into the budget, so.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor's report. Again, I'll try to speak up as loud as I can. So, I know there's gonna be a lot of questions tonight. I need to let you know right away, well, not right away, just up front. As all of you know, we've had staff that left on Friday. I wish them the best. I'm unable to answer any questions related to former personnel. I want transparency, and when we can speak to that, I will, but at this time we can't. My continued goal from day one when I took this, I had no idea what I was walking into. I had someone ask me, and I may have shared this with you before, do you wish you hadn't? Do you wish, if you could do it over, would you walk into this? And I really had to think long and hard. And even as difficult and hard as it's been, Yes, I would. Because I want the best for this community. And I have been working every day since I took on this responsibility. I don't just pop into City Hall. I've stopped taking off with my family on the weekends. I'm answering to citizens. I'm researching and looking at numbers. I'm working. My continued goal is to serve this city and the citizens, each one of you. If you agree with me or not, you can come to the table, I'm here. I'm gonna be a good steward of the city finances and of our resources, and I've had to take a long, hard look at a lot of that. And it hasn't been easy, and I've asked a lot of very hard, difficult questions. And when I can't get the answers that I need, I look outside to, well, I need to find those answers. And so I want you to know, I'm gonna continue to do my best to bring us forward, get us out of the red and get us in the black. It's going to look different. One of the things that I instituted when I came in, that we had department heads meeting every week. That didn't happen. And I said to my department heads, and they can all say, yes, this happened. I said, come to the table. I had no idea how bad this was when I walked in. And I said, so I did a lot of researching. What do cities like ours do when they run into these kind of issues? Well, there was a whole list. I had 2 pages. Tough things, tough things. And so with that, I said to my department heads, please come to the table. Bring ideas, bring suggestions, because I need you to be part of this solution. Not everyone did, but I think they tried. It's hard change is hard. People aren't happy with change. I've always prided myself on, I was a social worker before I came here. My goal all my life has been serving the public because I care about people. Investigator, social worker. You go out there and you do a really tough job. You don't get rich off of it, but it's about helping people. I make $600 a month, and I can tell you since Friday night, when the change in staffing happened, I was down here at 4:45 and I went home at 8 o'clock. I was here Saturday, went home at 6 o'clock. I was here Sunday, probably went home at 5:30, 6 o'clock. There was a picture in the paper that the office was closed on Monday. I was here at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went home probably at 6 o'clock that night. When people came to the door, I got up from what I was doing. I answered the door. I would like to say I appreciate how understanding people have been, knowing this, none of this is easy for any of us. You know, not everybody was pleasant. I think in my career as an investigator trying to work in protective services and in children, you know, I've encountered a lot of people that sometimes aren't happy. But it's always about doing the job and doing the job where it needs to be done. So tonight, I know a lot of you are frustrated. You have questions. A lot of it I can't talk about. So I just want to tell you that. I will answer to the best of my ability. And try to give you the best response. And it will be an honest response. If nothing else, I'm an honest person. I have integrity. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm here and I'm working for you. So with that said, we're going to move on to new business. And item 3 has been taken off. And then the next will be the council will have to make a decision on the 2 items. If we are going to go with the Aberdeen Police Department, or if we're going to go with the Sheriff Department. I hope you can hear me.
Sorry, Linda, we did move the 2021 amendments to a discussion.
Oh, thank you.
And we have an additional discussion on utility billing and
Right,
payroll.
that's down below.
That's right here on new business. We're on that spot 9.
Right, and that's on, is that on?
We could do it before or after the law enforcement, but I
think
had
we
it
put it-
before. I had it before spot, I mean, new business first thing, and then we could do the law enforcement vote.
Okay, that sounds good. So,
I'll let you start. I mean, is, item 9A was for you, sir? Or was that what you discussed earlier?
No, as far as the international building codes, the adoption of them is
Steve, could you stand up?
basically mandated by the state of Washington. Once the state adopts them, then it's up to the cities to adopt the codes. We're a couple years behind. As you can see, we're just adopting the 2021 codes. Normally, they should have been adopted in 2022. And we'd be working currently, they're working on the 2024 codes now. So those would be technically adopted next year, but who knows what's gonna happen. COVID kind of messed things up a little bit, so. But like I said, the 2021 codes and the amendments are what the state of Washington does to the ICC 2021 codes or any of the codes. Washington State puts in their own amendments for whatever they want to see changed in the codes. Same thing California does, same thing Florida does. California because of the earthquakes, Florida because of the hurricanes and everything. So that's what the amendments generally do. Some of them have pertain to plumbing, various other different things. I've got training next week on Tuesday up in Linwood, and Tuesday will be on the Washington State Amendment, so I'll have a better idea of what is included in those amendments. So,
Thank you.
As I indicated, these are codes that are mandated by the state for the cities to adopt once the state has adopted them.
Peter, I do have a question. So with the exemptions, the items that are crossed out,
Those are appendixes, and you're not mandated to adopt the appendix. They're different areas of the code. Some appendixes you adopt, some of them you don't. There's one appendix in there, it says the duties of the building official and how you hire them. None of the cities adopt that appendix because cities have their own requirements for who's gonna be a building official and who's gonna be hired.
can you comment on the exemptions that relate to a Board of Appeals?
Each city, again, has their own areas of how they want, their appeal process to go through, and that's in the city ordinance already. So that's why, that's one that's, as I've been asked that not be adopted.
Ask that not be adopted? Oh, I
Yeah,
see. So
yeah,
we
so
continue
yeah.
to use our
Yeah,
existing city ordinance.
use the city,
Would you happen to
appeal
know
process
the-
that's already in place.
Would you happen to know the municipal code for that?
No, I don't, not off the top of my head.
That's, I wouldn't expect it to, but thank you.
Any other questions?
Sorry, just one other, so this is just a purely perfunctory sort of compliance?
Yes.
There's no, it doesn't have anything to do with the buildings under construction or anything like that?
No. Everybody got their plans in before these codes came in, because these codes are gonna be a lot stricter, especially concerning the energy code. Unfortunately, Washington State likes to follow what California does, and California isn't necessarily a good state to follow as far as the energy code goes. So,
No other questions for me, thank you, SCC.
All right, so, I was just saying, next up would be the utility billing payroll conversation. I wanted to bring that up and just curious on what the plan of that was, now that we do not have some of our professionals.
So, could you reiterate that, stand up?
Utility billing, I mean, we had someone on staff that would go through, process the payroll, process our water bills, package them in envelopes, slap a stamp on them, drive them to the post office. I was just curious, now that we do not have those people in City Hall, what is our plan and who is gonna be taking over that role?
Okay, thank you. So as of Friday night, it's when I learned about staff changes. So my first thought was, I need to take care of all of you. We have police, we have fire, and then the next was sewer and water. So, I couldn't get a hold of anybody down at, our superintendent of public works. He has decided to resign, that's all I can say about that. I've appreciated working with him immensely. With that said, it was like, what do we do? That evening, I was told to reach out to other cities, and I did, and because I couldn't get any hold of anybody at the water department. And I thought, what if we have a break? You know, I have to make sure it's taken care of. And so they said that they would provide mutual aid and they would respond. And to get back to them, when I found out what was happening Saturday morning, I was down at the shop Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I spoke with Jamin. And if you haven't met Jamin, he's a great guy. And he shows up and he works hard, and he was there. I thanked him and just wanted to reassure him that we appreciated it. And I won't go into the conversation we had, but right now he's here. And then he covered the weekend. I let Aberdeen know we were good. Monday morning, Tom was there. Thank you, Tom. And so both Jamin and Tom are working. If we have a major water issue, Aberdeen, because of mutual aid, will come and assist us. I already have a job description. I'm ready to go forward for a superintendent of public works, that both Jamin and Tom will be part of the hiring process. They will help, they will look at the job description. I'm sorry, I'm struggling tonight. They will look at that job description and they will have input into that. We do have a half of Joe who shows up when the crew needs him. So we're covered. We are covered, I want to assure you. And back to,
I was just curious, who's gonna send our water bill out to us this
I
month?
would just.
Okay, that's kind of what the question was, we were drifting off.
So to his question, when we talked about water bill and all of that, that was my next thought. Okay, we have water, it's taken care of, and the next thought is people are bringing in bills on Monday. So I was there, I collected everything, we needed a clerk. Casey Grove was the police chief clerk. She had worked for the city of Cosmopolis. I was advised by the attorney to reach out to our other clerk that was laid off. I did. She had taken another position. The second person that we had laid off, Casey, who is very qualified. And so we got everything is taken. You're not gonna have any late water bills. Everything is being processed and taken care of you. As I said, I haven't missed a beat. I'm doing everything I can. I didn't have access to a lot of things when I came in Friday night. I do now. So I want you to know we're taking care of it. Yes, sir. Oh, wait, it's not.
No, I still have a question on that, Linda. So you answered that part of it. I was just curious if any council or anyone else, have we thought about possibly looking at a financial firm to take on that position and at a reduced cost, and just have it a digital system on digital system kind of deal, so we're not having to hire out a new position. I didn't know if we've looked into those types of options.
So at this time, we haven't. We had an emergent need, and I took care of that. And I had to, speaking with our attorney, I had the authority to do that, and it was in your best interest that I did that. So that was taken care of. And as we're moving forward, we will be meeting with the council, we will be having discussion. about processes, how do we save money? We need to save money. We need to look at how we do business in this community, what we are spending and how we are spending it. So yes, we are gonna look, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
We'll look at, as a council, all of us will look at different options that we have. Okay, anything else?
No, that's definitely some of the concerns I had regarding those issues.
Thank you. So,
Are we gonna discuss your CPA before?
yeah,
this,
oh, thank you. I tell you, I really need to be home in bed. I've had about 3 hours sleep in the last 4 or 5 days. So one of the things, as I came in, and I started asking questions and looking at finances, I needed more answers. I needed a lot more answers. And one of the things that when I've looked at cities that are struggling, how have they come back? What have they done? They have brought in professional help. CPAs that are certified, qualified, with experience working with small communities like ours in crisis. We cannot, folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, it cannot be business as usual. Things have to change. And so with that said, I did reach out to other cities. I talked to them. I did with Holcomb and Aberdeen, and, about what are you doing? What are you doing to look at finances? One of the things I looked at was the CPA, that it will go before the council tonight, and I will ask them to vote on it. They have the contract in front of them. And when you say this, when I proposed it to a financial person, the first thing the individual did was say, $18,000, how are we gonna pay for that? So, good question. So the contract is $185 an hour. We're not committed to 18,000. We can stop at any time, Councilman. We need to bring fresh eyes in. We need experience. We need someone to dig deep into our books to really, really look. How are we doing our investments? What are we doing? And so I'm gonna ask the council tonight to consider voting, because I can't do this unless I have the council support on this. And I believe it is truly, we've had good financial workers, but not to the level of experience the CPA is. Not to the level that they can really look and really look at what we need to be doing at this point in time to get us in the black. And at any time, we can say, okay, we're done. It doesn't have to be a lot. It's not 18,000, maybe it's 5 hours. It probably depends what they come across. So,
Councilman Lloyd, you proposed it, you wanna get rolling?
Sure. So, for the sake of discussion, I will motion to approve the contract to contract with Tara Dunsford as our CPA.
I second that.
And then for discussion, I'll go ahead and kick us off. I think, given the urgent nature of our situation, I want to hear discussion from my fellow council members. I think I would be prepared to vote yay on this. However, in the future, I would hope for contracts like these that we would be, presented with other options and, and with those disclosure about, how these options were referred.
Okay.
But, that's just a note for the future. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Any other discussion?
You wanna go first, Mr. Skinner?
because of the emergency of the time, what we're dealing with, I'm along with Councilman Wynn in,
How many bids were?
excuse me, Mr. Williams, you'll have time at the end of the meeting to ask questions, not now. So, these things were hit with us so fast and so hard, and the loss of our staff, we gotta move forward on where we're at and what we're at, where the books are, and all the issues that deal with that. So, being said, to contract this in, I am in agreement. So I'd like to have more options at a future date than right now. And then we, all of us, I don't know if many of you have any idea, this is a handbook was given to us that tells us how to do our job. Okay, great, presented, excellent. I've read it like 8 times, and I don't read books. But I've read this thing over and over and over again. We have agencies out there that the state that we pay for that can come in and help us get our things straight in our office. I brought it up to the mayor that I would also like to look into MRSC as far as what they can offer us for help in our time of need, and the Association of Washington Cities. They have told us they're there to help us, small communities having these issues. That's fine, schedule a time with them. They're shorthanded, they'll get here when they can. No, they've told us that we will be down there to give you a hand. But for the meantime, hiring a clerk so that the water bills are taken care of, hiring this so this issue's taken care of, and we can move forward and have a better understanding where we're at. You've been here before. We have a hard time reading charts and figures and understanding where we're at. Somebody's got to help us. An outside entity will probably be the best for us. Michael.
So, this is the first contract I've seen. Linda and I've discussed, and fellow councilman and I've discussed. Good business is seeing a couple options. We only had one option from the county. We wanted to see Aberdeen and Oakwim. We've had to get some trees removed. We had one bid. We needed to see a couple bids. I think we need to see a couple different bids from CPAs before we lock into an agreement on one CPA. That's all I have.
Would we maybe be willing to amend the motion for an alteration to the contract on a less, extended bit? So right now, as I understand the contract as presented, it is billed hourly. So, we don't have to go up to the maximum of 18,500. So perhaps we could amend to, a lower maximum for now. And then that will go ahead and get us somebody who can get eyes on things, but also give us time to bring in other contracts and consider if we want to perhaps go with somebody different.
Once we sign on with someone, bad business is to check off a few weeks into them digging into, they start the project, then let's let them finish a project. I don't wanna let them get into the accounts and then say, oh, sorry, we don't like you, we got a bid lower. I think it'd just be a fair shot to give, a couple of companies a option at our business.
Linda, I'm sorry, I'll be finished in a moment, but
That's okay.
how long would you, so I guess I'm just thinking in terms of timeline, do you think that if we call a special meeting for, next week or something, could you get a couple of other proposals by then?
I could, and the reason I did go with this individual, I did check with other agencies, and this, I'm sorry, this agency works with small communities who are, we're talking maybe up to, we're at to 3,000 who have hit huge issues, deficits like what we're seeing. And they get them, they go in, they read the books, they look at processes, they look at things that audits would miss. They dig deep. And so, getting them back on, and this agency has a very good track record in doing this. And you're right, if they get in and are like, this is okay, you know, we don't really need to look any further, then at the council, we'd say, okay. But if she's really, the individual is finding things that are concerning, or that could really get us on track, get us in the black, talk about investments, this person is an expert, and so I do want you to know I did my homework. I'm not hanging out down here at City Hall or in my office all weekend when my husband's off skiing, because I love doing this stuff. That's not the case. I am researching. Other council.
Before you talked to the CPA, did you try to get this information from our former financial director?
Yes, I did a number of times. I asked a lot of questions.
Further comment would be, how can we afford $185 an hour? We don't know if we can have officers by the end of the month.
So that was one of my questions too. It does not come out of the general fund. And she explained. So.
It has to come out of the general fund.
So, no comments, please. So I will, and I realize, and again, there's a very small portion, that word. We have an employee that did, a small portion would come out, because I said to the CPA, who is a certified, qualified CPA, I said to that CPA, there's no money. And she gave me there's like 3 places that would come out. We also have we had an employee that had 80% of their salary coming out of the general fund at a very high cost, extremely high. That is sadly not there. I think we could help support what we need, what we're going through right now. How do we get this city back on track?
I'd like to address a couple of things just related to the general fund also. And thank you for that context, Ms. Mayor. I think there has been some confusion, certainly among us new elected representatives, but at times, we were sharing advice that we believe to be true, and now we have some different understandings about things. One of those is related to interfund loans. You've heard probably repeatedly right now about the buckets and how you can't just move money from one bucket to another, and that's true in certain cases. We do have some funds that are restricted. In particular, the Macarengo Park Fund that had previously had an interfund loan, that was something that we were explicitly told not to do again. However, other interfund loans are an option for us. They do require council approval, but so that is an option. Another thing that I want to clarify, because I feel like this was never really adequately addressed. I do want to thank our city staff and our former finance director for doing the research and finding the answers to the questions that I raised at the previous meeting. And as we now have the projections for the year, it's been explained to me that March is a tough year for the general fund. But it's, our city finances are not like household finances or business finances where you can expect, generally a relatively steady stream of income, right? So if you're out of money for a month, then, you don't know, well, let me just say that March and November are going to be months where we struggle, and we've historically struggled, but we have gotten through those months, often with interfund loans to the general fund. And I think there's been a lot of alarm generated over the issue with the general fund. Based on our current projections, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think in April, May, we'll be in the black again. Now, that doesn't mean that we have a balanced budget. That doesn't mean that you know, we can continue to operate and sustain the level of expenditures that we have. But it does mean that at the end of the year, the city has money. We're not on the verge of bankruptcy, as, you know, the mayor addressed earlier. There's no risk of us being annexed or, you know, consolidating with Aberdeen or anything like that. So, the financial concerns that we have, you know, they're legitimate, but what we're looking at right now is actually the long term. In the short term, you know, there's nothing really that citizens should be worried about.
I'm sorry, but we shouldn't be worried that we have no city hall?
I'm talking about the budget.
Well, right now, we've got a great budget because nobody works here.
Well, and yeah, and that kind of underscores that point. So the concerns about a short-term expenditure for a contract like this, you know, those wouldn't have been significant concerns even if we did not have, you know, this sudden, you know, change in our payroll outflow. So if they weren't much of a concern before, they're really not a concern now. In terms of the short-term costs of contracting for a consultant who will probably end up saving the city a large amount of money in the long term.
Is there any other discussion? So is there a motion on,
There's a motion on the table.
is there a second?
It's been seconded.
I'm sorry, it's so like that.
Yep, seconded.
Okay,
Call for a vote.
call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
The ayes have it. Moving forward.
It's $29,600 a month.
So, and there will be a,
There will be public comment.
You can't comment now, you've already voted.
so, moving forward, so,
That's your problem right
You've got to
there.
have input on it.
Please, let's
Why are
keep
we
it.
here?
You're here to listen and.
Listen to us.
Listen to us,
But it's
and we
after
will
the
listen
fact.
to you. But right now, we are dealing with issues that have to be taken care of. So please, I appreciate your
I'm on
concern.
board, and anytime we have any hiring, you have to have minimum 2 bids.
I
Minimum.
understand your concern. We move forward at this time.
so, at this time, we're gonna move into the, motions.
We're moving into the proposal for police coverage. I would like to make a motion that we go with the option, the Aberdeen police option. I think that's option
D.
B. And,
I second.
do we have a
Discussion.
discussion?
I think, well, I don't have anything to add that hasn't already been said.
Okay, so do we have, we have a second? No discussion?
We seconded it.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the ayes have it. It is so moved that we will be contracting with the Aberdeen Police. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here and doing that. And thank you, Chief, for looking after the city.
Mayor Springer, I guess if they want, we could allow the Aberdeen chief and his deputy chief to leave at this point in time if they want. Or they can stay and enjoy it. Are they having fun yet?
Okay.
I don't wanna hang out more, but I
So, do we have any council comments?
I guess Mr. Skinner could start on this side. Council comments?
Just as where we're at, my only comment is the mayor is working, I live 2 blocks down the street, her little black car's been here. I am the fortunate one that's retired, none of the other councilmen are, so I've been able to come down and just try to answer questions, help, do whatever I can. I told you folks when you elected me, I'm not a numbers man, I am not. I just gotta go by the input that I get from people and what they want, and I truly voted this way, made this motion, because you said you want your police department. And I have been here 35 years, and I agree.
Thank you, Councilman Skinner. You know, for my part, I just want to address, my fellow councilmen and thank them. You know, I've spoken with many of them. I've spent many hours on the phone with the mayor. And, you know, these are all people up here who, you know, even when we disagree on the course of direction, these are people that have your best interest at heart. And, you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to serve with these folks. We're all gonna have some differences of opinion because we have different backgrounds, we have different information, you know, we all as humans have some biases, and, you know, that's just a fact of being a person in the world. But, you know, I do think that the city is very fortunate in the folks we have now are really dedicated to stepping up and trying to exercise the very best judgment for your best interest. With that said, you know, if you have things that you'd like to communicate to us, anything, whether it's your support or lack of support for an initiative, whether it's concerns you have related to the performance of anybody on any of your elected representatives or staff, you know, feel free to reach out to us. My email address is council2@cosmopoliswa.gov. I'll say that again in case you want to write it down. It's council2@cosmopoliswa.gov, and you can probably guess what our other council members' email addresses are. It's just 1 through 5. We are all happy to hear from you. I respond to any email I get. I do read your comments on social media. I cannot respond to them. So, you know, I would just urge you, if you feel like, you know, you were not heard, in the future, be heard. Reach out to us. And I think most of us have done a really great job of listening to your voices and trying to be responsive to that. Yeah, I'll conclude at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Nguyen. I don't have much to say, guys. I want to thank everyone for the turnout tonight. This is the biggest turnout I think I've ever seen in this building. Thank you all for your time. There's been a lot of name calling, a lot of harsh things said online. You know, we've all kind of been the whipping post of that. A lot of people have made assumptions that I hate police officers. I have children and a wife that live in this town, and I work out of town quite often. We have to have police. But when I look at dollar signs, I'm just trying to open the books and see what we can figure out. I know what I say isn't liked a lot, and I'm not doing it at any harsh feelings against the police department, any harsh feelings against the community. I was elected to try to find solutions to some really hard problems, and that's what we're all working on. Thank you for your time tonight.
So a lot of you I've heard you haven't been able, I'm sorry, 2 more.
There's the table over here.
I know, sorry, just going down the table. I will be more on my game next time.
I just want to say that I'm sorry to see what happened Friday, but what happened, and we need to move forward from there. That's all I can say on that. Councilman Music?
Yeah, I actually got a lot to say. I've been the go-between between staff and the mayor for, I've been the soundboard between staff and our mayor for about 4 months now, going, phone calls from staff about what's going on down in City Hall. I've spoke to the mayor several times about her demeanor, and I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. I called her last Thursday to tell her things are going bad. And we lost 4 critical staff members to this city. I'm scared to hell about what happened down there, and
They cared about this, yeah. They cared about.
and we're hiring a CPA. We have no staff. The bull in the, the elephant in the room is what happened, and I know you can't address that, but I just want it to be known that the staff that was here was committed to this city. They worked their asses off, some of them for 36 years. And I was there to answer my phone for months, several months. Before the mayor was elected, I was answering calls about, well, guess what now, guess what now? There's a lot more. You mentioned you went down to the city shop, but what you forgot to tell was that you also told them you're gonna cut their weekend duties down. There's 2 guys working, there's only 2 of them now. They have to work a minimum of 2 weekends a month. Kim, you can shake your head, but.
I was there.
And you said it was negotiable.
And I said,
me and Jamin said that we would not take our hours cut.
That's right.
And you said
That's
everything's negotiable, and I said,
Everything-
"No, we will walk,"
At
is what we
some
both
point-
told you.
At some point in time, that might have to be the case. But
Hey, I'll walk now.
everything
I don't
is,
care.
you
Okay,
are a
it needs
valuable
a-
person. You are a valuable
I-
person.
That's the way
like-
you're treated.
I didn't bring a gavel tonight, I forgot that. So this needs to stop. It
I'm
needs
not
to
finished
stop.
yet, though. What I'm trying to say is, you have 2 people left in the city, and you patted them on the back, and then you kicked them in the butt. You can't, and that's, I've got a lot to say, there's more stories, but in the end, I'll get shut down anyway, so.
Say 'em.
You represent us, Jim.
You can't be our voice, who is?
I'd like to know about the bonds for the new municipal building. Did you have a personal assistant going to shut down the construction?
So I would like to speak to that, may I?
Absolutely.
So, as I said, I do my research, I listen to citizens. I had several citizens over, and I was one too, when we were in such crisis financially, who said, why are we building a brand new building? Why? And I had that question. Before I was mayor, I went to the city administrator. I said, tell me about this. And he told me, showed me the numbers. When I became mayor, that question became more urgent from citizens, like, what are we doing? Can we get out of this contract? I went to, please hold your comments and be polite. A lot of you think you know what has happened. There's always 2 sides to the coin. I'm gonna tell you, I valued the staff, and I did everything I could to work with them.
Did everything to run them out.
So, please refrain from your comments. You can comment at the end, but I had to ask a lot of tough questions that people weren't happy that I asked. And so the bond, as far as the bond and the municipal building, I listened to citizens. So I went to my city administrator, again, I said, this isn't going away. tell me what it looks like if we could get out of it. I mean, I just want to understand. I want to have a response to citizens that makes sense. So probably about a week ago, I had an individual reach out to me. I didn't reach out to this individual because he was the person asking. And he said, why are we going ahead with this? And I gave him the reason that was given to me, and he said, that's not the case. You can look into this. And I would like to volunteer to do that for you. And I can volunteer as an assistant, but I can't get the information. I know you're very busy, but I can't get the information unless you say to your city staff, you know, I can be your personal assistant, not legal, not anything else, just to get the information to do the research. I said, yes, I think it's okay. I sent an email out to, I think it was the council, the department, all of them. Showed up the department head that I did do that. He did his research, he came back. Is it doable? Yeah, but one of the things I thought about as a citizen like you, we have a lot of money invested in this project. What does it mean for our community? We all voted for it. So when I looked at this and I looked at that, and I sat down with our committee, department heads, I said, so this is what citizens asked. This is what I got from my city administrator. I got this. I said, personally, I feel like we need to move forward. We went through the department and they each gave me a good reason. And so I said, I agree with you. I think we need to move forward. Our fire department is growing. They're gonna have a residential programs. We're gonna bring our police back. We're gonna have a police force again. You know, not tomorrow, but it's gonna happen. We're gonna have a nice municipal building, maybe rooms to rent out. And so that was the consensus. And so that's how that took place. You have any?
Did your personal assistant tell you anything different than the city administrator told you?
He did. We could get out of it. And we still would have to pay, but in the end, we wouldn't have to pay as much. And so he did. And he's no longer my personal assistant. He volunteered to get information, which I appreciate. Since that, I had 3 citizens reach out to me, and I was able to say, we'll save a little money in the long run. We've invested a lot, and this is how I feel about it. And they're like, oh, okay.
That very thing right there, we sat down as a council last year and we came to the same consensus that we were so far into engineering and design post-COVID that that's why the construction of it went ahead. We have talked about that at least 3 times in council. I know twice with the new council why that was still going forward. That, what I'm trying to establish here is that's why you lost 4 people, is not utilizing or trusting your people in this, that you employ. That's why they're gone.
We have not talked about that, Jim.
So at the council, we have not talked about it.
This is my comment time. If you got comments, have at them.
So the council did talk about that last year. I was at a council meeting. I got the same information everybody else got. It is my job to listen to you. You need to know that.
You shut your phone number down and your email address.
No. So
I can't communicate with you.
So I want to tell you, when staff decided to leave on Friday, I went down. There was a phone mail that said, because I haven't had a phone, I've been using my personal phone. Here's your phone, and that's a number. So Monday morning when I showed up, Friday or whatever it was, that I put that thing on the door. Here's my contact number, and it's mayor at cosmopolis.wa.gov. If you emailed me at that, I got it. I answer my emails all the time. If you emailed me, I got it. If you emailed me at that. If you called me on that number, I didn't get it. I even give out my personal email. I give out my personal phone. Many of you have reached out to me on that. So today, I had my phone checked and they're like, no, that's not the number on your phone. This is your number. So the new number is posted on the door. I did receive an email from the Daily World. That's the only one I received. Did I respond? I did not. Because, I have to tell you something. I read social media like the rest of you. I can't discuss, legally, I cannot discuss personnel. What I can say is I'm here for you. I'm gonna work for you. And I'm gonna respond to you. I'm not gonna go make a big statement in the paper. I'm gonna talk to you. Mr. Davis.
Steve Davis, 825 Fifth.
Oh, just a moment. I'm sorry. Just a moment, Mr. Davis. Do we have more council comments?
People are tired tonight.
People are tired. Folks, I'll just also address that. I spoke for hours with city staff and also with the mayor, and, I understand that there are multiple narratives, and I really wish I knew exactly what was going on, and that's part of the reason I provide my email. If you have firsthand knowledge of something and you want to share that with me, I would appreciate it, as would I'm sure all the other council members. We're not down there in the offices, so we don't know exactly what's happening at every minute on the day-to-day. At this juncture, having sat down with city staff and with the mayor and kind of hearing their stories, all I could see was a lot of people who genuinely wanted to work well together in the interest of the city and could not. And, there's blame to go around for days, but we just have to move forward. So that's all I have to say.
Any other comments?
None that I haven't already made.
Okay, so we'll open this up to public. Mr. Davis.
Steve Davis, 825 Fifth. So I wanted to clarify a couple of points. Number one, the email addresses aren't just 1, 2, 3. Jim Ansch's is separate, so you have to get on the city website. They're not all the same.
So
position 1, 2, or 3. So that said, the next thing is, I want to make a correction. We have not been here before. Several times from staff, we've been here before. We have not been here before. We have not. The mill's down. We've got stuff going on with the police department. We've got no city hall staff. This is all new territory. And it's vital, it's critical. When we have a council meeting, historically, the public is allowed a public comment period on items on the agenda. I implore you to put that back on there, because it gives citizens a chance to speak to all these things that we voted on tonight. So the citizens really didn't get a voice. I'm discouraged by that. The other thing is, hiring a CPA company is great, as long as they're versed. I don't know, because we don't have any other information. What their name is, are they local, they come out of Seattle, are they from Association of Washington Cities? It's all that kind of stuff that we'd like to hear, but at the same time, I expect that each council member, when you cast your vote, every time, that you understand what it is you're voting for each time. And if you don't understand it, please table that conversation until you get the information that you need. We cannot go forward in the same fashion we have for several years here. We have to get smart and work smart around here. Thank you.
My name's John Williams. I've been a resident of Causey for 56 years. My father was fire chief in this building for 40 of that years. He rolled over in his grave when all this went down, but that's not the point of my question. The point of my question is, when I was in high school, I was taught that any municipality, before they spend any taxpayer funds, has to put out an invitation for a bid. Was any of that done for the CPA bids?
No, it was not done.
How many bids did we get?
I spoke to 3 different CPAs.
So you handpicked this company?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's not right. An invitation bid has to be put out, and at least 2 companies have to bid on something. If I came to your house to put a roof on your house, and I tell you it's $20,000, are you gonna take my bid? Are you gonna take my first bid, or are you gonna say, well, I'm gonna talk to somebody else?
I probably would.
Was anybody local contacted for this job?
Yes,
And did they submit a bid? Were they asked to submit a bid, or?
they didn't want it.
Well, I just know from everything I've learned in high school, any municipality money that's spent like that, a notice in the paper, wherever it has to be, an invitation to bid has to be put out, as far as I know.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Our attorney, would you speak to that?
I don't know how long ago you were in high school, probably about the same time I was, a long time ago. But no, you don't have to go out to bids for professional services. You have to go out for bids for public works contracts.
Well, I think more than one bid should have been.
Yeah, you can go out to bids, but it's not required.
You know, I think maybe local companies should have had an opportunity to do the job, or, that's my opinion.
And thank you for your,
Hands up in the back.
thank you for your opinion. Mr., state your name, please.
John Schumacher. I'm the assistant that got the numbers.
John, could you speak up?
I'm the assistant that got the numbers.
If you'd like to come up here, you
All
can.
right. Does anybody want to hear the numbers? So, I've got copies of this. So, in 2020, the voters passed a $3 million bond issue. Okay. And so we passed a $3 million bond issue in 2020. The pandemic got in the way, and we didn't issue a contract on the project until 2023. And it turned out to be a $3.2 million contract. Some of the work has been done, some has been paid for, but we started repaying this $3 million in 2021. And we have paid it down to the tune of about $320,000. Now, the money to cover this mortgage comes from property tax assessments, which are certified to the county every year. The latest assessment was for 89 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation, or $89 per 100,000. So a $300,000 parcel paid $267 last year for just this bond issue. Now, if we terminated the project now, which was the city administrator told the mayor and told me that we couldn't do that. So I asked for a copy of the contract, and I looked through the contract, and there is a termination for convenience clause. We can terminate that clause, or terminate that contract at any time. Our only obligation is to cover all of the final expenses of the contractor. There's no penalty clause. Okay? If we did that, we would have to run assessments at the current level of roughly 89 cents per thousand for 4 more years to pay off what we have already spent on building, on the foundation and utilities. Okay? And then we'd have 13 years where we didn't have to make payments. That adds up to a total with interest to $2.6 million. So there's definitely 2 sides to this story. If we build the building now, we will pay roughly, on a $300,000 house, roughly $270 per year for about 17 more years. And that's a tax levy that's going to have a significant impact on whether we're able to pass an M&O or police department. If we stop the project now, we will have spent under $1 million. We can put that pad in a preservation state. And if we need to come back to it later, we can. It will cost more money. Interest rates will be higher, and construction costs will be higher. But as things look right now, unless we get better financial footing under us, we're not going to come back and need that building in the near future.
I got a question on that. So if we stop, I voted for it, and I approved my property taxes to go up to 14. If we stop that, are my taxes gonna go down $269 a year? Because you can't reappropriate. If I voted for that building, you can't take that money and put it somewhere else now.
That's right.
Because that's not what we voted for.
The deal is we
build that building, so
spend close to $1 million. If we stop the project now, we'll be into it close to $1 million, just under. Okay. We've already paid $320,000 on the
My
bond.
taxes already went up.
Your taxes went up, and they'll stay up for 4 more years. But
Not if we don't build the building.
No,
Because that's what we voted for. You can't take that vote and put it somewhere else with my money.
No, it will stay already.
Okay, we're going to, thank you for your comments. So this,
You didn't get any?
so it's not a discussion time, it's a comment. You can meet with him at a different time. You guys can meet up and get him.
He's your go-to guy, right?
He's not my,
He is too.
so, no, I did not go to. So, why do you say I did that?
Because you told
Thank you for your comments.
So if I get my money back?
Vicki Martin, 1509 3rd Street. I'd like to thank Councilman Skinner, Councilman Wynn, Councilman Spargo, Mayor Springer, and I'm not sure if I saw you guys there. On behalf of Cosmopolis Elementary, were you there?
Yes.
Jimmy, I'm not sure if I saw you. Okay. For coming in on Dr. Seuss Week and reading to the children. They loved it. They felt like they got to meet famous people and just thought it was the best. So thank you guys all for doing that. They appreciate it.
Please stand for your comment.
Sure, Cheryl Turner, 825 and a half Second Street. First off, we already know there's an audit this year, so that's gonna cost the city. And the auditor should be contacting you anyway, because whenever there's a finance director that leaves an office, they wanna come down and make sure that somebody's not fiddling around or something hadn't happened to the money to begin with. So that's gonna cost money. But the auditors always do an excellent job. There's no CPA that's gonna look into it any any better than those guys are because they are CPAs. So, and do you have a municipal agreement for public works with Aberdeen? Do you know-
It's a mutual aid, and
Do you
yes,
have a mutual aid agreement that you have signed with Aberdeen and you guys? Because that has to be passed by the council.
okay. I was told in an emergency situation.
Get one. I mean, it'd just be easy to get one. It'd be-
Thank you for your comment.
And Casey, I don't know what hours you have for working, but according to the ordinance, City Hall is open 8 to 4. That's what she should be working. Otherwise, that ordinance has to be changed by council for the time. And Mr. Wynn, water, sewer, and stormwater are restricted funds, and you cannot use that money for current fund.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Yes, one shaking your head no. Which one
Okay.
is it? Yes or no? Is it restricted or not?
Okay, there's no questions, comments, please. Comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Madam Mayor, I wanted to thank you for all the time that you've spent. I know you've reiterated many times how many hours and how transparent you want to be and all the hours that you've worked. And I know that you started in July of last year, and we talked about the challenges that the council was going to face last year, knowing all of this was coming down the pipe. You probably have close to 233 days with your campaign and now being mayor. And at 8 hours a day, that's 1,864 hours of time that you've spent, and that should be recognized for all the time that you've spent. My challenge is that a bottle of mayonnaise is $8 for a bottle of mayonnaise. And every one of these people in here feel those challenges at the supermarket. And everyone in this room is paying taxes that then the council will pass to raise their taxes to pay for all these things that we're talking about. And times are tough. And an M&O levy is more tax. And we're talking about more taxes and more taxes and more taxes, and we're having trouble going to the grocery store. Tonight, we did not hear from anyone where we are in reserves. The last meeting, we were tens of thousands of dollars in the red. Where are we today? None of that was proposed to all of the taxpayers here. We have no clue. Tonight, we had 2 council members vote no, thankfully, because tonight we spent $70,000 a month, $29,600 in a CPA, $185 an hour at 160 hours, which is 1 month, is $29,600. $40,000 in the new police decisions that were made tonight. That's $70,000 we have just spent. And as taxpayers, we don't know how far in the red we are. As a council and as a mayor, we expect from you to share those numbers. Have you proposed to have a surplus asset list discussed with council? How come we're not hearing about surplus asset lists? Did you sign an IT service agreement this week without council approval? Did you go down to the city shop and talk to 2 of our remaining people and say, we're considering reducing your hours? Have we asked other mayors and other councils in our community about interlocal agreement? Perhaps we can ask Hoagwim to provide some type of interlocal agreement like they've done with our city attorney to get a clerk in here to help us out at no cost to us.
Okay, Kelly, that was your 3 minutes.
One of the things that I'm worried about as a business owner is I'm not sure if annexation will happen or not.
Kelly, I'm gonna stop you now, and I'm gonna, no, we're not doing that with you tonight. You need to stop now.
Why? City code.
We have other citizens.
City code requires public comment.
If you don't stop, I'm gonna ask you to leave. So please listen. We have other citizens that have questions tonight. You asked probably 10 questions that you didn't allow anyone to answer. They're all questions.
No, because I don't expect you to answer them. I'm asking questions because these are the types of things we require.
So please, please come down to City Hall. Please reach out to them. We're gonna move on to next question. Gentlemen, not question, but comment. Thank you.
I got a question for City Hall, all you guys up there. It involves the property I bought from the city.
Okay, we're not doing question, this is discussion time. Please reach out to your council, you have their contact numbers, come down to City
I
Hall.
can state it as a comment. When's the city gonna move them stumps off my property?
So, sir,
Mayor, may I respond?
yes.
May I respond? I had a conversation, you and I had a conversation right out here, and I tried to explain to you at that time that we are working through these types of issues. You made a handshake, true or not, agreement with that city administrator. Not a written agreement, but a agreement that you would pay purchase price if he would take care of your stumps, right? Is that what you told me? It was an agreement. I'm asking, you wanna make a statement to me, I've gotta defend myself right now because you and I had this conversation. And I told you that we will work our best to take care of your issue. I did go down to the city garage, and after I told them that everything is negotiable, I also said, do you know anything about a gentleman's stumps up on the hill? I got a good laugh out of them, and they said it's another one of them deals where there was something done that we will try to help that gentleman out. But at this point in time, we don't have the manpower. We're gonna have to not take them to the park. We have to take them to Stafford Creek. There will be an expense involved. I asked you to come to this meeting tonight so that it could be on record of your concern that you made an agreement with the city's administrator that wasn't on paper, but you would like to get it recorded here tonight. You did, and it's appreciated. But we cannot deal with that problem at this time with the staff that we have. Those two men have their job to
So the rest of the
do.
city populace goes on hold because your government failed.
Your government failed. Your government, all of our government failed. Goodness gracious.
We're going to stop.
It's really obvious that we, the taxpayers who voted our city government in, doesn't want to be, as our mayor said, transparent.
So, I'm gonna respond to this. You know, I stand up here and I take a lot of comments that are out of content, a lot of half-truth, and I'm not gonna respond to them, okay? You can ridicule me, you can say things that were taken out of content,
Wasn't out of context.
and you can say whatever. But we're here, we're doing our best. We are going to get the city running. Please reach out, call us, please come down to City Hall. We will do that. Are there other people that have questions?
Stephanie Bridges, 109 Short Lane. Can you please remind the folks to state their name, first and last, and their address?
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Michelle Focus, 131 Alder. I wanted to thank you all. I think this is the biggest mess that anyone could have stepped into. I appreciate what you're having to do, every one of you. It's not easy. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of pushback, and I know you all are doing your best to work through it. So for what it's worth, thank you, and I know not one of you will run for office again, and I do not blame you.
Could I respond? Speaking of misinformation, I would appreciate it if you do not use my name on Facebook.
You might want to speak to Ms. Daniels, who mentioned your name on Facebook. It did not come from me originally.
No, actually, I saw what you used my name.
Again, okay, we're gonna stop. Okay.
Sean Bridges, 825 Stanford Drive. I really appreciate all you guys, the police and everything. It's just, you guys have to open your eyes. You have failed us as a community.
Oh.
And I know you guys are all new, but you're still failing. You're not paying attention to what we're saying. I appreciate all of you, but $1,000 a month living in my house almost is get reduced just for property taxes. Where's the money at? Thank you.
So one of the things I want to tell you folks, when I walked into this financial crisis, the first thing they said that we can do is raise the excise tax. I said, no. I said, let's look at what else we need to do. When we had department head meetings, I said, we have to look at other things. Is that furloughs? Is that 4 days a week? We have to. So yeah, we are listening. We don't want to raise taxes. We are listening. Thank you for your comment. Anybody else beside Ms. Daniels? Casey? Could you please?
I've worked for the city as a volunteer for many years, plus I worked in City Hall for many years, and I worked as a councilman along with other members of my family. And I have known all of you, or almost all of you. I am so disappointed in you, Mr. Wynn. All you do is talk. You don't say anything. I don't understand numbers. Well, then find out. Oh, yes, you did. Oh, you most assuredly did. And then, when you ran for office, you didn't come in maybe twice, 3 times? Justin did. Jim did. Kim did. Where were you? And you, Mayor, you said you were foisted on this. Where were you?
I'm not sure.
You started when Kelly told you, you could have started, how many days ago, Kelly? 200 and some days ago? 230. You have done nothing. And transparency, my fanny goat.
Thank you for your comment.
No, is 3 minutes up? Steve, is 3 minutes up? No. Okay, thank
I
you.
wasn't timing you.
Justin, I applaud you. Jim, I applaud you. Kim, yeah, but you're trying. But the rest of you suck.
Guys, this is public comment 1% at a time, please. Public comment, not Q&A, public comment, 1 at a time. Please continue.
We have a gentleman in the back room.
502 High Street, Cosmopolis. I do not work for the city anymore. I was laid off due to the budget. All that aside, sitting here listening to these council meetings and the blame game back and forth as a citizen of this community is atrocious. This is like a bunch of schoolyard antics. People are allowed to have their opinions and everything. That doesn't solve the problem at the end of the day. Like, what is the solution? What needs to happen? That's what needs to be focused on moving forward. Not tearing everybody down. It's a bunch of garbage, this. Like, let's do something different. Instead of tearing everybody down, let's start building people back up. I appreciate all the council members, even the previous ones that were here, and including the new ones. There are some things that I don't agree with on the council. I see a lot of things go on kind of behind the scenes that people roll in their eyes. I don't think that's very professional as a council member. I'm not gonna name names, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus. But it's inappropriate, it's not solving the problem here. Second thing is, Chief Lehman, I work for him, probably one of the greatest guys I've ever met. I hold him in the highest regard. He's done everything he can do to help in the budget, to save money for the city. It's been over backwards. And I just want to acknowledge Chief Lehman on that. I just want to thank everybody for their piece by piece, day by day, and get the problem taken care of. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. The lady in the red shirt back there.
Donna Lesky on Altano. Forgive my ignorance, but I'm wondering, when did the city last have an outside audit?
It's, our audit is coming up this May. We'll get the results in November. And I did reach out to the state. I did share my concerns. I did ask about an audit, and I asked about a CPA. And they said, you know, we do come down, but a good investigative CPA is probably good. And so we haven't, but we will be having an audit in May. Results will come out in November.
Hopefully we can get a PA system.
I actually, yeah, I'm working on it. So, out of my own pocket, my new son. Yes.
Maria Nini in 526 Trim Avenue, and I just wanted to say that his comment was amazing because my son chose to come here tonight, and I've never been to one, to be honest, and I was a little bit disgusted too with the way that things went and the eye rolling, because like, it matters. It matters what you guys, like, you know, how you act, the way you stand, the way you present yourself, it matters. And so I do think that we need to get back to the root of like who we are, who do we want to be? Because this isn't what we want to be in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what is your son's name?
This is Lincoln.
Lincoln, thank you for coming and being involved. And I want to apologize. This is not how we should behave. And as we move forward, I hope we can. We're going to be adjourning this meeting at 9 o'clock tonight. It's been a long day for everyone. And, you know, get involved. You can make a difference. And thank you for coming. Anyone else that hasn't had a chance to comment this evening? Casey.
I'd like to say that thank you to the council members because we knew you guys were coming in without a lot of experience except for Jim, which everybody should be listening to and learning from. Especially thank you to you, Justin, which was made very clear to me that it was a good thing I was never voted in, but thank you. So at the risk of being called a lunatic, like I already was, I would like to say that I voted for you because the person that I saw when you were out there campaigning was not the person that I see now. I have friends that worked in that office. Yes, my brother works here and I've been accused of only fighting for it because he works there. It's not true. I care about every single person that works in there. And if anybody wouldn't fight for their brother, then they need to have some discussions with their family. But since you came into this, and I have heard about things that have been said, threats about being fired, meetings with multiple council members about people being fired, which is not allowed. And then how you're talking to the people that worked in there, not okay. We want a leader that can sit back, figure out what she needs to do, and then move forward. And for the council members, know what you're supposed to know. Don't just vote because she put it on the table. Ask questions, and I've heard that of a couple of you. Thank you, Justin. But don't just say yes, just to say yes. And I'm gonna agree with the other people in here that blaming people, which I have tried to defend over and over again, I'm a lunatic, blaming the previous council and the previous mayor for every single problem that we have is not gonna get anybody anywhere. And when you have two people that stay with you, you appreciate them and you are grateful and you don't give them ultimatums about having to leave. They stayed because they want to be dedicated to this community, just like the over 100 years of experience that we had walk out the door.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
3 minutes, by the way.
Okay. At this time,
Have a question? Oh, a question?
not a question.
Comment.
Okay, Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm passionate, you guys, because I love our city. So if I get fired up because I love it here, and I'm super sad that Keith got his hours cut to to half-time. So I'm just gonna put that on record. I think if we're gonna have a city police department, that our chief should be working full-time at 160 hours. If we're gonna hire a CPA for 160 hours, we might well keep our chief working for 160 hours. So, I would like to know what the proposed and projected deficits are for March and April. That was not shared tonight. I would like to know if our city attorney has in fact resigned.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you, those are questions.
Okay, comment. My comment would be, I'm curious to know whether or not our attorney has actually resigned. I'm curious to know, as a comment, if the city of Hoquiam has canceled the interlocal legal agreement with our city attorney. I'm curious to know if the city council has done any type of research for interfund loans to help us get through these challenges. I would like to know what our revenue, in light of our revenue shortage with the mill going down, we're gonna have to cut some serious expenses. And so I caution you on passing motions that increase our monthly outlays by $70,000. In terms of the bond was a voter-approved bond. That money is in a separate bucket. It's not part of the bucket that we're talking about tonight in terms of our general fund deficit. That building could be a blessing in disguise. If we cancel that bond, we will be required, the taxpayers again, to pay over $1 million in paying that back. We would also be subject to a breach of contract lawsuit with Rodwin's, not being able to pay for their profit and expenses. That would fall on everyone here as taxpayers. That should not be on the table anymore. That's moving forward. My suggestion is if when we build that building, we're gonna have a great asset. We need to lease it out to other county, state, and federal entities and create revenue sources. Please stop talking about canceling that bond. It's a voter-approved bond. The challenges that we are facing are general fund challenges. That's where we're challenged. And so confusing everybody here, it's not fair to the folks. City code requires, your own code, Mayor, requires that you place public comment at the beginning of the meeting. This gentleman is correct. Tonight, we did not get a chance to speak until after decisions were made. That's not right for everyone here in this room. I love the city. There's a pathway forward, and I would like the answer to find out if in fact our city attorney has also resigned. I think that is very telling of the leadership of this council. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I have, my name's Ron Mullins, and I'm from Elma, but I do have something positive to say. When I was on the hospital commissioner years ago, we were in the red. And we had to go to the bank, and we got a line of credit. Now look at Summit Pacific today. So there's a lot of opportunity here in Cosmopolis. Just because it's kind of dark now, it can be bright in the future with the right planning and stuff. And I've been going around the community a lot, and to see this many people here kind of makes me excited to know that this many people care. And as a result, this will have a better outcome, because it takes everybody everybody can't agree to have the best outcome. So I look forward to the process that you guys are going through, and I do see better things ahead.
Thank you.
We are going to adjourn. It's been a long evening, and I said 9, but it's been a long evening for everyone here. I want to thank you all for coming. You have our numbers, you have our emails. There was a lot of stuff said. If you question anything said,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. We're free.
Wouldn't want your job for nothing.
I think